A year ago, Gi-hun participated in a competition known as the Squid Games, in which people in debt play for a huge amount of money. As the winner, Gi-hun received the big prize, but all the other players died. Now Gi-hun is at the airport trying to leave for the USA to reconnect with his daughter. However, after seeing another desperate man being invited to the game, Gi-hun decides to stay and find the people behind the games to bring them down. He receives a call from the person overseeing the games known as the front man, who warns him he'll regret it, but Gi-hun ignores him. On his way back to Seoul, he stops at a store and buys a knife. Then in the bathroom he searches his body until he discovers there's a tracker behind his ear and takes it out. Meanwhile, Detective Jun-ho wakes up without knowing where he is. A year ago he had infiltrated the games to look for his brother In-ho, who turned out to be the front man. In-ho shot Jun-ho and let him fall off the cliff, assuming he was dead. However, he was rescued by a ship and taken to the hospital, where he's now waking up from a coma. 2 years later, Jun-ho is working as a traffic officer. Since he lost his phone with all the proof of the games in the ocean, he almost got fired for disappearing for many days without a word, but his boss put in a good word for Jun-ho and he only got demoted. In his free time he meets with Captain Park, the man who found his body in the water. Together they're searching every island in the area to find the games again. In the meantime, Gi-hun is hiding in a motel where he's installed tons of security cameras. One night, he finds the front man at the door with 2 human heads, but it's just a nightmare. Later he meets with loan shark Mr. Kim and his assistant Woo-sok, who he's hired to look for the man recruiting new players for the games. So far they haven't found him, so Gi-hun pays them extra money to hire more people and even offers a big reward for whoever catches him. Kim and Woo-sok organize a whole operation by hiring a bunch of gangsters. They share all the clues they have and spread through every subway station, checking any man that barely fits the description. However, there's been no success so far, and Woo-sok is starting to wonder if the story is true. One night while taking a break, the duo finally sees the recruiter playing a slapping game and giving the invitation to Myung-gi. As the recruiter leaves the station, Kim and Woo-sok follow him while calling Gi-hun to warn him. At that same time, Myung-gi gets a call from his pregnant ex-girlfriend Jun-hee, but he doesn't answer. Jun-hee is currently at the clinic but cancels the appointment after she also gets an invitation to the games. Moments later, the recruiter goes to the park and approaches tramps to make them choose between a bread roll or a scratch card. Only one person chooses the bread, all the others choose the card, but not a single one has a prize. Afterward, the recruiter throws the leftover bread on the ground and starts stomping on them, saying it was the tramps who wasted this food. Kim and Woo-sok record it all and send it to Gi-hun. Downtown, Gi-hun is driving too fast and is pulled over by the police. A rookie takes his personal information before letting him go with a ticket, and when Jun-ho looks at his partner's screen, he recognizes Gi-hun's name from the games. He searches the name in the system and gets an address from a car rental company. At the park, the recruiter leaves, so Kim and Woo-sok follow him into an alley to catch him. However, the recruiter is fast and easily overpowers them both. Moments later, Gi-hun finally arrives and finds some blood and a knife, but not the men. Meanwhile, the recruiter has taken Kim and Woo-sok up to a fancy room and tied them up. He tells them they must play rock paper scissors and the loser will have to play Russian roulette. During the first few rounds nothing happens because there's only one bullet in the gun, so the chances are low. However, the recruiter adds a bullet each turn and eventually Mr. Kim is shot in the head. Seeing this, a terrified Woo-sok agrees to talk. In the evening, Jun-ho breaks into the office where Kim organized the operation and finds some paperwork with the motel address. When Gi-hun returns to the motel, the recruiter is waiting for him. He shares that he started as a mere grunt in the games and he had to remove the bodies of the dead players or shoot those who misbehaved. One day he had to take care of a player who turned out to be his father, yet the recruiter didn't hesitate to kill him too. Then the recruiter announces they'll be playing Russian roulette. The gun changes hands over and over with nothing happening for several rounds, but eventually the bullet hits the recruiter and he instantly dies. Gi-hun checks his pockets and finds a black envelope. At that moment, Jun-ho bursts into the hotel and finds Woo-sok in a random room. After freeing him, he keeps searching and finds Gi-hun. When he's about to arrest him, Woo-sok knocks Jun-ho out with a fire extinguisher. Gi-hun checks the card from the envelope, which mentions the club HDH and the date October 31st at midnight. When Jun-ho wakes up, he and Gi-hun share what they know and agree to work together to end the games. Woo-sok wants to help too to avenge Kim. Gi-hun shows them all the money he won and the weapons he's collected so far. There's a hole in the wall that takes them to a back room where they can practice shooting without anyone hearing. At the parking lot of an amusement park, No Oil is sleeping in her car. A cop knocks on her window and warns her she can't do this, so this must be the last time. The next day she starts her shift as a park mascot, and she's so nice to the children that a girl gifts her a drawing. After work, she takes the little money she made to a broker, hoping he can rescue her daughter from North Korea. However, he's already searched for the kid to no avail and there's nothing else he can do. That night, a new recruiter brings No Oil an invitation to the games. The next day she quits her job and calls the number on the card to agree to join the games. Then she burns the card and drawing the kid gave her. As part of the plan, Gi-hun gets a tooth removed and replaces it with a fake one that has a tracker. He also hires a bunch of thugs who train with his weapons in the hidden room. Later Gi-hun calls his daughter but doesn't dare to say anything. He only listens to her voice before hanging up. When the day finally comes, the club is full of people celebrating Halloween. Gi-hun and Woo-sok search the club while Jun-ho keeps guard outside. He notices two people wearing the guard uniforms from the games and follows them into the club, threatening the bouncer to be able to pass. Unfortunately he's too late. One of the guards chases Woo-sok to knock him out while the other makes Gi-hun leave the club. Jun-ho finds a sleeping Woo-sok and notices on the tracker that Gi-hun is leaving, so he warns the hired thugs. Gi-hun is brought to a limo that the thugs start following in their cars. The frontman talks to Gi-hun through a speaker, who refuses to stop the game when Gi-hun asks. He explains the game will continue as long as the system keeps on ruining people. When they reach an empty street, hidden snipers on various roofs fire at the tires of the thugs' cars to stop them. Gi-hun notices this and opens fire inside the limo, but the glass is bulletproof. Determined to follow the plan, Gi-hun has no choice but to volunteer to participate in the games again, and sleeping gas soon knocks him out. At the docks, 3 trucks pick up more people, including No Oil. She wasn't chosen to be a player though, she'll be one of the guards. The next morning, Jun-ho and Woo-sok get on Park's ship with the thugs to follow Gi-hun's signal on the tracker. On the island, Gi-hun wakes up in the Squid game facility with all the new players. He's wearing the game uniform and has the number 456 like last time. The guards arrive to explain the rules. The players will be here for 6 days, and those who win all 6 games get a big cash prize. Myung-gi interrupts to ask about his phone, so the guards play a video of him to reveal he used to be a YouTuber. His career ended when he promoted a new crypto coin and caused thousands of people to lose money. Now he's a wanted man for fraud. Other people also complained about the situation and the masks, so the video shows the very high debt of each person who opened their mouth. Then a huge piggy bank appears on the ceiling, which will accumulate money throughout the games until it reaches 45 billion. After each game, they can vote on whether to keep playing or not. If the majority votes to stop, everyone can leave with the money they'll have accumulated at that point. The guards are interrupted again when Young-sik discovers that his old mother Jeom-ja is also a player, but the games don't care about people's ages. The next step is signing the consent forms. After Myung-gi is done, he's approached by Nam-gyu and rapper Thanos, who lost money on the crypto scam. Myung-gi doesn't feel guilty and Thanos gets rather aggressive, so Nam-gyu has to pull them apart before things escalate. When it's Gi-hun's turn to sign, he reads the rest of the rules. Players can't quit and those who don't play will be eliminated. The only way to stop things is during the voting ceremony. Then the players get their pictures taken before they're sent out to the first game. Gi-hun is shocked to discover his old friend Yoon-bae is also playing and tells him to stay close to him. Meanwhile, Jun-ho and his men follow the tracker until they finally arrive on the island and send out a drone to search for the facility. The island appears to be empty except for a fisherman. The group quickly surrounds him and finds the tracker among his tools, which means the game people removed it from Gi-hun's mouth when he was gassed. Soon the players are sent out to a yard where a huge doll is waiting. Gi-hun is worried because his friends don't show up and removes his dental implant to discover the tracker is gone, so he'll have to play. The first game will be red light green light. Players have 5 minutes to reach the other end of the yard, but they can only move when the doll says green light. If the doll says red light, everyone must stay still, and those who move will be out. Gi-hun tries to warn everyone that eliminated here means literally killed, but they don't believe him. The game finally starts and the frontman and Ho watches from his private room. Determined to save everyone, Gi-hun yells instructions saying when to move or when to freeze, allowing the whole group to advance a lot without trouble. However, when Thanos tells a woman that there's a bee on her neck, she freaks out and moves, so she instantly gets shot. Everyone is in shock as the bee flies away and scares another person into moving, so this player gets shot too. This causes lots of people to panic and try to run away, thus No Oil begins shooting them all down from her guard spot. Gi-hun keeps yelling to remind everyone to stay still, but they still lose dozens of players. Now people believe Gi-hun, so he explains the doll can only tell they're moving through sensors and they should hide behind players bigger than them. Whenever they can move, Thanos uses the chance to take some illegal candy that he hid in his necklace. Following Gi-hun's instructions, the group keeps on playing pretty well, although No Oil shoots a woman for trembling. Thanos pushes 3 players on purpose and they get killed too. A few more turns and many deaths later, half the group manages to cross the line. One of the shot players is still alive and Gi-hun goes back to help him reach the end, but No Oil breaks the rules and kills the bleeding man after he crosses the line. Once the players are back in the shared room, they're informed that 91 people were killed and 365 remain. When a bunch of players begin begging for their lives, Gi-hun reminds them they can vote to end the game now. First, the guards fill the piggy bank with the money accumulated so far, which isn't much if they have to divide among so many players. The voting begins and the players have to press a button before they're given a sticker that represents their choice. Seeing that so many people are voting to stay, Gi-hun tries to warn them about the next games and an argument ensues, so he's forced to admit he did this before. Thanos sees this as an advantage because it means Gi-hun can help everyone survive. The guards interrupt the argument and force everyone to keep voting. The numbers reach a tie and only player 001 is left. This man votes to stay, and while half the group celebrates, it's revealed 001 is In-ho, who has joined the game in secret. Later during dinner, the players ask Gi-hun for tips on the next game. He tells them it's Dalgona, a game in which they must carve out a piece of candy without breaking it. Some players want to keep the information for themselves to have an advantage, but Gi-hun promises he'll help everyone equally. In-ho keeps asking Gi-hun why he came back, not understanding the concept of altruism. Meanwhile, Jeom-ja shares her food with Junhee because she can tell she's pregnant. Thanos and Nam-gyu keep on bothering Myung-gi until he snaps and starts a fight, so In-ho tries to calm them down. When Thanos and Nam-gyu try to fight him instead, In-ho shows his skills and easily overpowers them both. This earns him everyone's respect. In the middle of the night, In-ho tells Gi-hun that his pregnant wife is very sick and he needs money to pay for the treatment, gaining Gi-hun's pity. In the facility labs, the guards are having trouble harvesting the organs from the dead players. A lot of them have been deemed unsalvageable because they've been shot a second time, which isn't supposed to happen. They realize no oil did that, so she's taken to see the officer, who is overseeing things while In-ho is in the game. The officer met No Oil 7 years ago when she was a rebel fighting in North Korea and hired her for the games in exchange for finding her child. He yells at her for breaking the rules, but No Oil doesn't care and just walks away. In Seoul, Junho tries to get help from the police, but they still refuse to do anything without evidence. He tells Woo-sok and the thugs to keep searching the islands in the area, however Park says they'll have to wait to sail again because of the bad weather. The next day, Thanos continues to secretly take his happy candy. Junhee approaches Myung-gi to tell him she's keeping the baby, which goes against what they agreed on. The argument is interrupted when the second game is announced, but it's not Dalgona like Gi-hun predicted. The group is taken to the yard and asked to split into teams of 5. Most people don't trust Gi-hun anymore, so he ends up in a team with In-ho, Young-bae, Dae-ho, and Junhee. The game is 6-legged pentathlon and each team will have all their legs tied together. They'll take turns playing a mini-game at every 10-meter mark, and if they win, the team can move to the next one. There are 5 games in 5 minutes.